In 2009, the top 10 companies posted a negative growth rate of 2%, but in 2010, it increased to 7%. So the question is, what did the companies do to drive this growth? So if we actually look at company strategies, we can broadly break it down into four different categories. The first one is growth, where growth was attributed to their presence in the emerging market. And in the Western markets, which proved to be more challenging, companies responded to consumer megatrends, primarily value for money. In addition, difficult market situation and more competition meant that companies felt a greater need to connect with consumers. This involved exploring new media channels such as the iPhone application, as well as the internet, and incorporating green technology more and more into their operations. So now let's look at each of these categories in broader detail. Expanding in the emerging markets is not a new trend. It started before the recession. But what happened was, as companies began to focus more and more on the emerging markets, they realized that they have to take a more structured approach, which means answering the diversity. Consumers across different parts of the world have different skin tone, different hair care, so their beauty needs are different. So in order to be successful in these markets, companies needed to offer products which were customized to the regional beauty preferences. So as a result of that, we see that more and more companies are putting more and more regional research and research and development centers to be able to understand the regional beauty preferences and cater products that are designed to suit their needs. So, for example, we see a range of skin whitening launches in Asia Pacific and hair straightening products in Latin America. So this structured approach actually helped companies drive growth in the emerging markets, which were not as affected by the recession as the Western markets. So this brings me on to my next point. What did companies do in the Western markets? So Western markets are actually quite important for the companies because they generate more than 50% of the global beauty and personal care market. So this is not a market they can ignore. So the way they responded to the market challenges here is by responding to the consumer megatrends. Now, the megatrends are like aging population, addressing their greater awareness for health and wellness, as well as their preferences for value for money. Now, most of these megatrends were there even before the recession, but what became more prominent is consumer value for money. Now, value for money does not necessarily mean cheaper products. It just means that consumers want to get more for their money's worth. Now, an example would be two of L'Oreal's products. One is Genifique, which was launched towards the end of 2009, and it was based on expensive high-tech innovation. And they were selling it in the range of 50 euros or so. But in the early 2011, the similar technology was transferred to its mass range, L'Oréal Paris, and launched under youth code, selling at approximately 20 euros. So what L'Oréal was trying to do is address consumers' need for value for money by offering high-tech, expensive innovation into a more competitively priced mass-ranged product. So this is a trend that has also reflected in the recent mergers and acquisitions. So most of the acquisitions that have taken place in the last 1 or 2 years are acquisitions of professional brands. So company objective was to offer more credible professional ranges at a more reasonable, competitively price in the regular retail channels, thus offering consumers better value for their money. They also feel due to increased competition, they need to engage with consumers more closely. And this involves launching Facebook pages where they can offer free samples and get to understand what consumers are thinking about their products. And also they're launching iPhone applications where consumers can be interactive with the brands. They can have a play with the shades and colors on different skin tones. I mean, for Estee Lauder, you can upload your picture on their website and then try on the different shades to see how that particular shade would look on you. So these are different ways in which companies are trying to engage with consumers, they're trying to connect with consumers to have a better understanding of what they want. A part of it is also addressing consumers' greater awareness for environmental issues. A key development has been in the area of packaging. For example, Procter & Gamble has signed a deal with a Brazilian company called Braskem that will be supplying it with a packaging ingredient called polyethylene. Polyethylene is normally derived from crude oil, but Braskem has found a way of deriving it from a natural source, namely the sugarcane. And this is just one example, but there are lots of other examples where companies are now taking more concrete steps into materializing these broader goals into more specific actions and outcomes. But the next question is, are these responses only exclusive to the recessionary period, or are we going to see it going forward as the macroeconomy shows signs of recovery? Well, global expansion will continue to be key as the growth in the beauty and personal care industry will be coming from the emerging markets. So companies' expansion in the global markets will not cease as the Western market shows signs of improvement. It will continue, and they will carry on doing what they have been doing, and their approach to the emerging markets will become more and more structured as they understand the market dynamics more clearly. Also, as consumers become more and more savvy, companies will be under pressure to offer more high-tech innovations at competitive prices.